Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're not just reading a novel, we are really excavating the foundations of a fictional world.
Mm.
We are plunging into a rich, interconnected stack of source material centered entirely on this deceptively quiet town of Bald Slope, North Carolina.
And it really is deceptive.
Yeah, this is a place where every relationship is tangled, every success story, it seems, hides a tragedy, and the snowy facade covers just generations of intricate, damaging secrets.
That's absolutely right. This stack details a phenomenal deep dive into the hidden lives, the crushing psychological pressures, and the powerful binding secrets that anchor the lives of three women.
Josey Cirrini, Chloe Finley.
And the mysterious, disruptive figure known as Della. The material is so rich because it doesn't just give us the plot points. It gives us, like, the emotional architecture of their choices.
Our mission, then, is to extract the surprising nuggets of knowledge about identity, specifically the search for a true identity, the desperate desire for escape, and the almost magnetic pull of the past that shapes this community.
And it's a community that is literally built on the legacy of one man.
The ambitious Marco Cirrini. His shadow just falls over everyone in town.
It really does. So we'll be mapping the complex emotional landscape of Bald Slope, moving through incredible symbolic details, from a secret candy closet that functions as a psychological comfort zone,
Right.
to the shocking discovery of long-lost, illegitimate family connections. You are going to understand not just what happened in this mountain town, but why these events were so potent that they forced a radical, decade-ending transformation in the lives of everyone involved.
Okay, let's unpack this. I think we have to begin with the most internally conflicted character, the woman who lives literally surrounded by her family's history and hides in her own self-made camouflage. Josey Cirrini.
Josey is the portrait of a woman dedicated to self-erasure. Its concept we see defined visually by the sources.
So.
Well, she's described as pale, plain, and a little plump. And you see her deepest vulnerability reflected in her discomfort with summer, where she feels, tedious and self-conscious in light dresses.
Right.
She is convinced, and this is the core image she has of herself, that she looks like a loaf of white bread wearing a belt.
That specific visual is so powerful because it captures her profound sense of being utterly bland, exposed, and
Constricted.
defined by a restrictive girdle. It entirely explains why she doesn't just tolerate, but actively clings to the cold weather.
Winter, for Josey, is a relief. It validates her need to wear long coats, tights, and layers, which she explicitly views and uses as camouflage.
It's a literal attempt to disappear from the world, to avoid the intense inherited scrutiny that comes with being the daughter of Marco Cirrini.
Exactly. She is trying to compensate for her physicality by becoming invisible, believing that if she is not seen, she cannot be judged.
And yet this drive for camouflage hits a fascinating contradiction when we look at her clothing.
Oh, yeah.
Amidst all the layers of gray and brown invisibility, she clings to one specific garment, her lucky red cardigan.
Which she swears had a power of its own. It's an incredibly rich piece of symbolism, isn't it?
It is. It's like the single spark of the person she wishes she could be.
The bold, powerful, attention-getting individual hidden beneath the functional gray layers of the person she feels she must be.
The red cardigan is her personal secret talisman.
It's a promise of vitality buried deep inside that loaf of white bread. It's her attempt to externalize an inner strength she cannot yet access fully.
But the question remains, what drove this intense, lifelong need for atonement and erasure?
Well, the sources are clear. Josey's entire adult persona is built on trying to compensate for a famously difficult childhood.
After her father Marco's sudden death when she was 9, she gained this painful realization that she had been an unattractive, spoiled child.
She threw terrible tantrums, broke things.
And had an insatiable appetite for stealing candy.
And this realization, we learned, was intensified by her mother, Margaret. Margaret, who was struggling with her own grief and guilt, viewed Josey's chaotic early behavior as punishment for Margaret's own perceived sins.
So Josey's central identity crisis becomes this relentless, almost crippling fear of letting her mother down.
Right. She felt that she was required to pay penance for being a difficult child and for being the living reminder of Margaret's own unhappiness.
That context is critical. Her efforts to be the perfect, invisible daughter are so extreme they manifest in a physical space.
The ultimate expression of her secrecy.
The secret world of sweets.
This is truly the heart of Josey's internal life, and the sources detail it wonderfully. We learn the secret closet is accessed through a hidden door located behind a massive, heavy, generations-old Cirrini armoire in an adjoining room.
The sheer physical effort required to move that armoire and access the space just underscores the importance and difficulty of maintaining this secret world.
And the space itself is a sensory experience. It's Josey's sanctuary, smelling sweetly.
Like Halloween.
Like Halloween, like sugar and chocolate and crisp plastic wrappers. It's pure, distilled, unadulterated comfort. But what makes this specific analysis so important is the inventory. It's not just a stash.
No, it's a detailed, curated list of comfort foods, mostly relics of a specific childhood era.
Exactly. This wasn't a modern convenience store haul. The specificity is key to understanding the psychological function.
Okay, so we are listing moon pies and pecan rolls,
Chico sticks and cowtails, caramel creams,
squirrel nut zippers, red hots, Bitto honey.
and boxes upon boxes of Little Debbie snack cakes. These are nostalgic, foundational American sweets, many of which Josey would have encountered in her turbulent youth.
The technical balance of the source is brilliant here. By listing these specific, almost dated items, the source is telling us that this is a deliberate regression.
Oh, for sure. The closet functions as a psychological womb, a place where she can return to an emotional state before her father died and before her adult life of atonement began,
The candy is described as literally filling in hollow spaces.
allowing her to enjoy food alone without the paralyzing judgment of others, particularly her hypercritical mother.
It's the only place in that highly scrutinized Victorian house where she feels truly safe, happy, and awkward, a sleepy kind of peace achieved through sugar and solitude.
It represents the self she had to bury.
Moving outward, we have to recognize that Josey's private world is set inside the immense public shadow of the Cirrini home and Marco's legacy.
Yes. The house is described as a large, bright blue Victorian lady.
Marco, the son of poor Italian immigrants, built it to be an eager look-at-me house.
Right. It was designed to stand out.
Marco Cirrini clearly did not share his daughter's future desire for camouflage. He wanted recognition and status.
We learn he went so far as to tear down an existing home in the neighborhood he aspired to, just to build this unapologetically loud, standout structure. All the other wealthy houses were recessed into the landscape.
And the Cirrini house was front and center, a monument to his wealth and societal arrival.
And that success was foundational for the entire town. Marco established the winter economy by building the Bald Slope ski resort.
Before Marco, the sources tell us, the town only sustained itself as a summer getaway for the wealthy elite. For the rest of the year, it slept like a winter beast.
Marco changed everything, leveraging the natural environment to create a year-round economy, finally gaining the acceptance in high society he craved.
But for Josey, the relationship with this silver-haired, established figure was distant.
Very distant. Marco was mostly absent in her early life, only taking her on those weekly, scheduled Sunday drives.
So Josey grew up trying to reconcile the great, swaggering public figure who defined her town's existence with the distant, reserved father, all while desperately trying to meet the impossible standards set by her mother.
This precarious, highly controlled life, built on secrecy, atonement, and public display, is violently shattered by the catalyst.
The abrupt, almost elemental arrival of Della Baker.
Della is chaos incarnate, and she's found hiding in Josey's regular closet, not the secret one,
Right.
wearing a cropped white shirt, tight blue jeans, a broken heart tattoo, and smelling distinctly of cigarette smoke and river water.
That smell is key. It's primal, outdoor, uncontained. Della is Josey's anti-self, a force of danger and uncontrolled living.
And the volatility is immediate. Della wastes no time. Almost instinctively, she slides open the false wall, discovering the secret world of sweets, cutting right through Josey's careful defenses.
She sets the terms of their engagement with a brutal honesty. Don't reveal mine and I won't reveal yours.
This is not a friendship. It is a forced, symbiotic relationship built on shared, shameful secrets.
And Della immediately begins challenging the entire foundation of Josey's world, forcing visibility where Josey demands invisibility. She watches Josey and asks that piercing question.
Is this really what you do all day? Don't you have friends? But here's the twist. Della drops the stunning fact that she used to envy Josey as a kid, believing Josey had everything.
For Josey, who has spent her life believing her existence was meaningless, tedious, and defined by shame, this is profoundly disorienting.
I mean, how could it not be?
The life she worked so hard to disappear into is actually something someone else longed for. It forces Josey to confront the fact that her camouflage has failed, and that the person she wants to become, the one who risks and lives, is literally eating her moon pies in her closet.
This is the moment Josey realizes she must metabolize this disruptive force. She can't run from Della because Della embodies the rage, the recklessness, and the desire for freedom that Josey has suppressed for decades in her quest for perfection.
It sets the stage for change. The need for secrecy in Bald Slope, fueled by the Cirrini legacy, is clearly epidemic. But where Josey Cirrini is focused on maintaining internal secrecy, our second major character, Chloe Finley, is dealing with secrets that refuse to stay hidden.
Almost magically so.
Exactly.
This is where the source material introduces a fascinating element of magical realism, which we need to treat seriously as a narrative device. If Josey has a secret world of candy, Chloe Finley has a public, insistent, and slightly unsettling relationship with the magical books.
They literally follow her.
They appear when she needs them, acting as a kind of silent, highly insistent support system.
Wait, are the sources suggesting literal magic here? Or is this a form of extreme psychological manifestation, where Chloe is projecting her deepest needs and subconscious answers onto physical literature?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The sources lean into the magical element while framing it psychologically. We should read it as narrative hyperbole that confirms her deepest unacknowledged needs.
Okay.
The first instance, when she was 12, solidifies the concept for her. She left a book on card tricks by the creek, only to find the exact same book spine still creaking on her nightstand later that night, exactly when she needed distraction.
And she internalized this idea.
Books liked her. Books wanted to look after her. It's an externalization of her conscience.
That makes sense. It means the books are acting as a highly specific, personalized, emotional compass. And recently, the titles appearing everywhere have been almost unbearably pointed.
Oh yeah, they reflect her immediate crisis. We see Finding Forgiveness
Old Love, New Direction.
and A Girl's Guide to Keeping Her Guy.
And they appear in the most absurd public locations. The refrigerator, right by the cash register. It's impossible for her to ignore the guidance.
This forces confrontation.
Yeah.
And we see the evolution of the guidance. Eventually, when she begins carving out an independent path, the titles change to Madame Bovary.
Suggesting complicated emotional terrain and potential betrayal.
And The Complete Homeowner's Guide, the ultimate signal of autonomy and stability.
Her initial reaction to this enforced guidance is key to understanding her pain. She is furious. She doesn't want advice.
No, she rails at the books, saying they have no emotional understanding of betrayal. They're just paper and string and glue. But even in her anger, she can't escape them.
Her anger is displacement.
Totally. She knows they are right even when she fights their lessons, evidenced by her tossing Madame Bovary into a snowbank when she suspects the book is suggesting she might cheat on Jake in retaliation.
The need for forgiveness, of course, stems from the crisis with Jake Yardley.
The sources detail their relationship as intense, almost supernatural in its passion. The hyperbole used is crucial.
She felt overwhelming physical passion, so much so that the source notes she could make tap water boil just by kissing him.
I mean, wow. Her devotion was absolute, almost defining her existence. I would die before I could ever be with anyone else.
That level of identification with the relationship made the betrayal catastrophic. Jake cheated once, 3 months prior, immediately after celebrating the huge win of the Beasley murder case where he was the prosecutor.
Right. The source paints it as an intense emotional release following the high-stakes pressure of the trial.
But the act itself wasn't the insurmountable wall, it was Jake's subsequent silence.
He refused to tell her the name of the woman. That withholding made Chloe's forgiveness impossible. She couldn't move past the unknown, the phantom rival.
She felt his refusal to share the truth was a betrayal worse than the affair itself, because it implied he didn't trust her with his vulnerability.
This is where Julian, Della Lee's former housemate, inserts himself into the narrative.
Julian, described as beautiful, melodic, and intoxicating.
He's a manipulator. He positions himself as a sympathetic figure, offering to find the name of the woman who caused all this trouble, preying directly on Chloe's desperation and need for clarity.
And this desperation drags Josey into the drama.
Josey, seeing how terrified Della Lee was of Julian, steps into act. She undertakes a desperate mission, breaking into Della Lee's yellow bungalow to retrieve Della Lee's essential things, her wallet, clothes, and boots, knowing that Della Lee couldn't go back herself.
It's during this break-in that Josey encounters Julian, asleep on the couch. The description is rich with unsettling tension.
Julian, with his jeans unzipped, smelling intensely of alcohol and that mysterious smoky scent described as like burning a rose bush. It's a profoundly unsettling encounter for Josey, confirming the danger Della fled.
Josey, who has only ever hidden, is suddenly facing raw, uncontained malevolence.
That moment establishes a strange solidarity between Josey and the disruptive presence of Della. Josey realizes Julian represents a danger to Chloe as well, especially when Chloe, desperate for information, goes to Jiggery's to meet him.
And Chloe is clearly entranced by his attention, even feeling guilty because she likes his pull away from Jake.
And here is a
While the Julian subplot is resolved, Chloe remains focused on finding her independent footing, which she symbolizes with the path to independence.
right, centered on the buttercup yellow house on Summertime Road.
She had been obsessed with this house, particularly the unexpected grandeur of its library, but she felt she couldn't afford it without asking Jake's wealthy parents for money.
A condition that Jake strongly resisted, knowing his parents would then feel ownership over their life.
The sale of this yellow house becomes the absolute signal of Chloe's new life. The owners, Zelda and George Cramden, initially priced it too high because they didn't really want to leave Bald Slope.
But fate, or perhaps Chloe's persistent magical books, intervenes.
The intervention is classic situational comedy. George attempts to cook a Thanksgiving turkey.
Charring the bird and setting off the smoke alarm. They see Chloe's unexpected arrival in the middle of a snowstorm, right after this domestic disaster, as a clear sign that they must finally move closer to their daughter.
So they agree to significantly lower the price.
This moment, facilitated by a bad turkey, allows Chloe to plan a future entirely without needing Jake or his parents' financial security. She is building a foundation that is hers alone, based on her own savings and credit.
She is becoming autonomous.
Mirroring Josey's internal emancipation with physical and financial independence.
It's fascinating how both women, through different means, one through internal chaos, one through externalized guidance, are moving toward a common goal.
Autonomy from the powerful, often suffocating influences in Bald Slope.
We've established that Bald Slope is a town built on secrets, but we must now plunge into the biggest, longest-held deceptions revealed in the source material, starting with the quiet tragedy of Margaret Cirrini and Raleigh Pelham.
Margaret, Josey's mother, has maintained the perfect image of the society wife, but we know she lived under constant, intense scrutiny, particularly from Livia Linley White.
Marco's old, unrequited admirer who acted as the town's social arbiter.
Exactly. And Margaret harbored a powerful 40-year-old secret, a brief affair with Raleigh Pelham, the blue-collar owner of Pelham Cabs, who was 8 years her junior.
The affair wasn't malicious or reckless. It was born of profound loneliness.
The sources detail its emotional culmination on Christmas Eve. Raleigh drove Margaret home, and she was weeping over Marco's numerous affairs and the isolation of her marriage. Raleigh, a kind and constant presence, simply took her into his arms.
And that single kiss, after years of stifling her emotions, made Margaret feel alive, completely melting her lifelong Ice Queen persona.
But the relief was momentary. The fallout was swift and devastating because Livia Linley White caught them.
Margaret, fearing Marco's wrath, not just on herself, but fearing he would destroy Raleigh, who was a good, hardworking man beloved by his family, made a deal with Livia to protect Raleigh's identity from Marco.
And this is the crux of the 40-year secret and the deep tragedy. The cruelty of Margaret's own fear meant she made Raleigh promise never to speak to her again in public.
And this is the crucial detail the source emphasizes. Pelhams cannot break promises.
It's genetic, a matter of core identity for them.
Raleigh took that promise seriously. For 4 decades, he was a silent, invisible presence in Margaret's life.
He missed her greatly, yet he kept his word. He drove her social acquaintances around, watched her intensely from his cab, heard about her life from others, but never spoke a direct word to her.
His lifelong silence, which must have seemed like indifference or cowardice to the outside world, was actually a profound act of keeping a promise to her.
It was a quiet, constant, agonizing sacrifice.
That quiet tragedy is running parallel to the massive personal secret that Della reveals to Josey, which fundamentally alters Josey's family history.
Right. We learn that Dela's mother had spent nearly 20 years tracking Marco Cirrini, driven by an almost psychotic obsession. She kept meticulous logbooks detailing his every move.
These logbooks are terrifying in their specificity. They catalog everything. Marco wearing his gray suit with a red tie, how many times he laughed during a conversation,
Which street he drove down, even license plate numbers of random cars in the street. This obsession defines Dela's childhood. She was forced to participate, and she hated the invasive, stalking nature of her mother's life.
So what's the reason? Why the obsession?
The shocking truth, delivered abruptly, is that Della Lee is Marco Cirini's illegitimate daughter.
Wow.
Yeah. Marco paid off Della Lee's mother when Della Lee was born, buying silence and a house. But the money wasn't enough to stop the mother's fixation on the man who abandoned them,
So when Della Lee was 9, her mother came to the Cirrini home to confront Margaret.
revealing the truth. And Margaret, the image of poise and social rigidity, showed her true colors. The Force describes Margaret as one smart cookie,
She paid Della Lee's mother off again for silence, ensuring Josey was the only one who could give Marco a legitimate child.
which makes Della Lee Josey's half-sister. The realization is a massive jolt to Josey's entire sense of self, forcing her to confront her father's infidelity and her mother's decades-long complicity in a cover-up designed to protect the Cirrini status.
This complex truth leads us to the biggest revelation, which is deeply rooted in the magical realism of the source material, the nature of Della Lee herself.
Right. Della Lee makes Josey realize that the woman who has been hiding in her closet is a manifestation of Josey's own suppressed needs. The rage, the desire to escape, the longing for comfort without judgment.
It is the Sugar Queen revelation, Josey's suppressed, chaotic, vital, self-given physical form.
And once Josey decides to leave Bald Slope with Adam, having broken her own patterns of secrecy, Della Lee vanishes, having fulfilled her purpose. But here is the major structural twist we need to pause and analyze,
Okay.
as it changes the way we view the entire relationship. Chloe's final email mentions that Josey paid for the funeral of Della Lee Baker and that the death happened a year ago.
A year ago. So was Della Lee Baker a literal ghost, a self-imposed hallucination, or a sophisticated narrative device?
Given the magical books, the source material suggests we should not rule out the supernatural.
If she was a literal ghost, then Josey was sheltering a remnant of her dead half-sister, allowing her to process her father's deceit and her own need for liberation through this spectral relationship.
And if she was a self-imposed hallucination, she represents Josey's ultimate ability to manifest and control the chaos required for her own transformation. I lean toward that one.
So you think she's a narrative device?
I think she's the repressed, dangerous truth made flesh. Josey was sharing her most intimate secret space with a phantom, a part of herself she had to metabolize and resolve before she could move forward into a healthy life.
The moment Josey makes the decision to choose freedom over comfort, the need for the manifestation disappears.
The debt has been paid, the identity has been integrated.
It's a powerful metaphor for facing one's deepest fears and truths. And speaking of truth, the final piece of the deception that sets Chloe free, the Eve Beasley scandal.
Yes. Julian finally reveals the name Jake slept with. Eve Beasley, the beautiful 45-year-old wife of the man convicted in the murder case Jake prosecuted.
Julian presented this information as pure, sensational gossip, hoping to wound Chloe further.
But the implications were huge and entirely different from what Chloe expected. We learned that Jake kept the name secret, not out of malice or shame about the woman's identity, but strictly to prevent a mistrial.
This is the crucial ethical dilemma. Eve was the star witness. She was terrified. And Jake, the prosecutor, had convinced her to testify against her abusive husband.
The affair happened immediately after the case concluded, in a moment of extreme emotional release for both of them, a shared, intense crisis reaction. If her name had been revealed, the defense would have argued coercion, destroying the conviction.
So Jake was protecting the integrity of a murder conviction, protecting Eve Beasley from potential legal and physical repercussions, even at the cost of his own relationship.
The moment Chloe realizes this shift in context, that his secrecy was an act of public integrity, not private cruelty, her immediate forgiveness is possible. She realizes the enormous pressure he was under.
Jake finally confesses, "It was Eve Beasley, and more importantly, I love you more than my own life."
And Chloe accepts him back, but the old Chloe is gone. She insists, "I have books, and they're going to be around from now on."
Signaling that while she loves him, she is grounded, autonomous, and armed with her own self-directed compass.
The core takeaway across all these revelations is that understanding the why changes everything. Margaret's lifelong suffering was based on a misunderstanding of a promise she forced. Chloe's pain was based on a misinterpretation of Jake's motives.
Only when the secrets of the past are dragged into the light can the characters break free.
With the secrets exposed, we shift into the final critical theme: transformation and physical movement.
Josey's journey from camouflage to visibility hinges entirely on her relationship with Adam, the mailman.
Adam, the mailman who smells like peppermint, is Josey's long-standing, tongue-tied crush, a figure of reliable normalcy hiding his own turmoil.
And it's Chloe, leveraging her newfound directness, who steps in and explicitly tells Adam that Josey is in love with him, forcing a connection where Josey herself could only hide.
Adam is presented as this golden-skinned, athletic figure, but he carries his own intense secret. Josey challenges him during a confrontation about his mother's influence on their lives, driving home the pattern they were both stuck in.
She says, "You're hiding something. You're hiding from something." She sees her own stuck state reflected in his stillness.
He finally confesses his secret during a beautifully intimate late-night snowman-making session. He reveals he was a successful lawyer in Chicago and a competitive skier who was severely injured on Bald Slope Mountain. His current life as a mailman and his presence in the town is entirely about staying still due to a paralyzing fear of recurrence.
A re-injury that would leave him completely incapacitated.
He admits to Josey, "You're afraid to leave, aren't you?" He recognizes her internal struggle because it mirrors his external paralysis. They are two people defined by different kinds of fear, both acting as anchors to the familiar.
The breakthrough moment is their kiss. The source notes that his ingrained panic and tension immediately dissipated, filled instead with Josey's open, expressive, hopeful self.
She provides the external courage he lacked. But his fear, his need for control and speed, immediately manifests in his desire to rush intimacy, thinking faster, faster.
He catches himself, though.
He does, recognizing the old pattern, trying to reassert control over a new, vulnerable reality.
That moment of self-correction is critical. It shows that breaking a pattern is a conscious choice, not a sudden cure. This recognition leads directly to the decision to leave.
Adam explicitly tells Josey he recognizes her deep desire for escape that mirrors his own. "I want to leave so badly I can't stand it sometimes."
He sees her untapped potential, the life she has suppressed beneath the camouflage. He tells her, "You have the rest of your life in front of you, wide open. I can't even explain how that makes me feel."
For someone who believes his own life has narrowed to a single safe path, Josey's wide-open future is both terrifying and immensely attractive.
They realize they are both trapped. Josey hiding out of fear of disapproval and atonement.
Adam staying still out of fear of physical recurrence. Adam offers a radical, total disruption. "Then let's leave. I'm completely serious."
An escape plan born of mutual courage, not desperation.
And we see parallel final acts of agency across the board, starting with Margaret and Raleigh. This is the moment where the 40-year promise finally shatters.
Raleigh, seeing Margaret alone and exposed in the snow, risks everything to deliver her home in his cab.
He confronts her later, detailing the exact terms of the promise she made him break 40 years ago, the promise that defined his entire adult life. He forces her to acknowledge the true, immense cost of her fear and social posturing.
And Margaret, finally freed from her own self-imposed prison and understanding the depth of his sacrifice, touches his hand for the first time in 4 decades.
This simple physical gesture is the end of the Ice Queen persona. It's the realization that she valued the social structure and Marco's opinion more than her own happiness and Raleigh's peace. She finally chooses connection over control.
And for Josey, the transformation is complete the moment she makes the decision to leave Bald Slope with Adam. Della vanishes.
Her purpose fulfilled. Josey is now free to leave, no longer waiting for her mother's permission, no longer needing to atone. The manifestation of her repressed self, the one who demanded liberation, has done its job.
You can go now. Go live your life.
And finally, Chloe and Jake reconcile, but it's a completely new start. Chloe is keeping her independence by finalizing the purchase of the Buttercup Yellow house.
This physical asset signals that while she loves Jake, she is no longer desperate or dependent on him or his family's wealth.
She is grounded, autonomous, and ready to redefine their future, one book and one perfectly structured house at a time.
What stands out most profoundly in this deep dive is the realization that major life changes, for Josey, for Chloe, for Margaret, only happened when external forces,
Like a ghost, a manipulating ex-housemate, or a magical book.
or internal desires, forced them to actively break long-standing patterns built on decades of fear, shame, and silence.
Bald Slope served as an incubator for these patterns. Josey shifted from a hidden existence in a camouflage cardigan, obsessed with atoning for her past, to someone daring enough to risk the disapproval of her mother and the terrifying vulnerability of intimacy with Adam.
She literally chose the wide-open, unknown future over the stifling safety of the candy closet.
And Chloe moved past the desperate need for security based on Jake and his legal integrity. She carved out an independent future, symbolized by her owning the Buttercup Yellow House.
That unshakable foundation allowed her to forgive Jake based on understanding, not need, signaling her lasting self-respect.
The town of Bald Slope itself was built on the ambitious secret of Josey Cirrini. It required a similar ambition and vulnerability from the next generation to break free from its suffocating social expectations and the powerful secrets the mountain held for so long.
I think the source material shows us unequivocally that the secrets we keep often end up shaping our lives more profoundly than the truths we choose to share.
The ultimate lesson here is that our patterns become our prisons, even when they start as necessary forms of protection.
So the provocative question for you to consider is this. If you had a hidden part of yourself, a Della figure, what deep-seated pattern would that manifestation be demanding that you finally break? What promise, made decades ago out of fear or misplaced duty, are you still upholding that is preventing you from living your open, vital life today?